Welcome to Battlefield, Nevada, where politics is a contact sport. And happy 4th of July. You might wonder why we're not dressed up today. I'm here with Danny Tarkanian, who is considering running for either the U.S. Senate or Congress. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement.
Okay. Let's go into what happened with Senator Heller and why you're considering running for the U.S. Senate currently.
Well, it doesn't have so much to do with Senator Heller. I mean, I obviously have some differences of political philosophy differences with them. But the biggest thing that happened to me is I lost Jackie Rosen by 1% the last election. Mm-hmm. She had utilized her TV ads in attacking me with some allegations. Well, first of all, they're false statements that were already proven false in a court of law. I'd won a defamation lawsuit on it, and I sent her.
That was in 2010.
It was a 2004 campaign. I won the lawsuit in 2009. And we sent Jackie a cease and desist letter notifying her that the statements you're saying are the same that were already proven defamatory. Take them down or we're going to sue you. She didn't take them down. She won by 1%. We ended up suing her. The judge came out. She filed a motion to dismiss. The judge ruled against her motion, stating that her statements are substantially similar to the ones that were already proven defamatory in 2009, exactly what we said to her before. The judge stated that he didn't believe the statements were true, that we had an ability to show malice and a substantial likelihood of success. I believe the fact that we have a judge reiterating how false these statements are, that it would be very tough for Jackie to make those statements against me again and have them stick at all. And I was looking forward to having a rematch with her on a level playing field where there has to be some type of truthfulness in what she's saying instead of all these lies.
So just so the audience understands, the most you're going to win out of this lawsuit are financial damages. There's no way to go back and refight the actual campaign. There's no way that the votes are going to be reversed. You're just going to get a monetary judgment. Is that correct?
Yes, you're not going to get the election results overturned, nor am I trying to. Look, she won the election. She won the election.
Isn't that the real issue? This has happened to you before, where people run these false, defamatory ads against you, and then they write a check. So it's a cost of business for these guys to do this against you and other politicians. Exactly. So how do we stop this? How do we fight this?
The way you stop it is somebody has to step up, show the courage, and also the fortitude to sue somebody, get a judgment big enough that it's going to deter other candidates from doing that. In my first judgment, I got an award of $150,000. I guess that wasn't enough to deter Jackie Rosen, but we've sued her for $9 million. We're going to sue the DCCC, who is also part of that commercial ad. They're the Democrat super PAC, and I think that there could be a multi-million-dollar lawsuit judgment against them. And it isn't the monetary issue that's most important to me. This has to stop. No one can tell me that our election process is fairer when the person who can lie the worst, who has the most money to get their lies out there, gets rewarded with winning. They have to be a punishment for someone who goes that far to sell their souls to win.
Isn't that the real issue here? That if you run, let's say, against Jackie Rosen again for the U.S. Senate, some third-party group or someone else runs ads again targeting you with an issue that does seem to work with voters, okay, and then you lose and you sue them again. That's the problem here, isn't it? And how do you deal with that then?
Well, there's two things. First, if the financial award is big enough, it's going to discourage people from doing it again.
If it's a PAC out of Washington, D.C., what do they care if you sue them 6 months after the campaign's lost?
And they got to pay $10, $20 million. I think they would care a lot. I think and this is going to be a great test case. No one's ever sued a super PAC before that I'm aware of, and I believe we have a great chance of success. I believe the judge's wording in the hearing showed that. You get enough to deter them from doing so. Furthermore, we will have the language from what has been said in this lawsuit and the one in 2009 to be able to offset some of these attack ads that are against me. We didn't respond as well as we should have. But part of it deals with the timing. The ads came out and the money that they were throwing against me. But it's got to stop. I mean, who thinks it's right that people who can lie the worst and have the most money to lie about should be rewarded? Someone's got to step up and change this culture.
Would you also say it's fair to say that Joe Heck and Senator Dean Heller and some of the other Republican establishment who officially, publicly withdrew support from Trump right before the election, did that hurt you?
Absolutely, and I have no idea what the causes were of the loss. I think there was probably more than one. I'm sure these ads hurt me that Jackie Rosen ran. She targeted saying I was involved in telemarketing fraud with seniors, and that turned the seniors off. Certainly the fact that Governor Sandoval first and then Dean Heller repudiated Trump, and then Joe Heck and Crescent Hardy did later. Virtually all the top Republican officials in Nevada repudiated him. I was the only one in Nevada that stayed loyal to him and supported him.
Do you still support Trump?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Are you, if you run for office and you win, will you support Trump's agenda?
Of course I will. I like what Trump is trying to get done. Now, there are some things I don't like that he's doing that are on his personal activities, some of the tweets and this and that in his language, but that's not the point. What's he trying to accomplish? And that's what I said when they tried to get me to repudiate Trump during the election. I said, look, I don't agree with the things he said on the bus in 2004 something, 15 years ago. But what's he trying to accomplish compared to what Hillary Clinton wants to accomplish? It was a no-brainer. Trump's agenda for the future of America was so much far superior than Hillary Clinton. It was a no-brainer that I was going to support him. And I support most of the policies, virtually all the policies that he's trying to get passed right now. But let me get back. The point is, nobody should, on the Republican side should have repudiated Trump. He was better than Hillary Clinton. I stood up and supported that.
Can you
Others
imagine
didn't.
Hillary Clinton president today?
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Well, absolutely. I mean, not only that, you'd have every Supreme Court decision going the opposite way it is now. So not only do you have her policies as on the executive branch, you would have the judicial branch.
No Judge Gorsuch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Senator Heller came out and opposed and openly supporting the Senate bill to repeal and replace Obamacare. Do you support the Senate bill?
I think the Senate bill could be a lot better, and it doesn't focus on what the needs should be focused upon. And that's sort of ironic, because you hear Dean Heller saying, hey, we should expand Medicaid more, meaning we need to have more of our taxpayer dollars going and our debt going up higher, or he's not going to support the bill. The Republicans concentrated on the Senate bill on repealing the taxes in the bill. You know, the biggest problem I see with the health care bill is the burden and financial burden it's imposing upon the middle class, hardworking Americans, people that are making between 40 to 70, 80, 90,000 a year. They're trying to support their family.
They're getting killed by the tax bill, aren't they?
Well, it isn't.
By the health care bill, which is a tax. It really is a tax.
The health care bill is killing them, and you can call it a tax, but there's taxes in the bill that are $1 trillion that the current Senate bill repeals. But what I want to see happen to the bill is people that I just mentioned, middle class, hardworking Americans, are seeing their premiums, like mine. Mine went up 300%. My deductible went 500%. And then I just found out
You're self-employed.
I'm self-employed. And now I just found out my copay to go see a specialist, because my son had a stroke 2 years ago. So he goes sees his neurologist, and it's $150 instead of $35. It's gone up 400%. There are stories after stories after stories about how this is hitting Americans. And I think those are the ones, the people that felt the impact of the Obamacare bill the worst, that voted Trump into office. And that's what we should be focused on, reducing the cost for the premiums and deductibles for those people. I don't think the health care bill does enough. But that being said, I want to make this clear. Anything is better than Obamacare right now, except possibly socialized medicine.
How about just repealing it and letting the market take over?
You can do that.
Rand Paul suggested that.
Yeah, I mean, and Rand Paul's talked about repealing and then having a timeline down the road where hopefully you get something else passed. That we could all say, well, we want to have done this or that, but there's certain things that aren't going to be done because of Obamacare and what is done and the entitlements is put out there. There are certain things that I don't think you can roll back without causing a really catastrophic effect on the industry. But there are other things that you can, and then open up the free market, the competition within the insurance industries, and get the prices down, and then you can do some of these things. And that's, I don't know if our current health care bill does that stuff. We need to create open competition in the insurance industry. More competition creates a better product at a lower cost. It does it in almost everything.
Isn't one of the problems with the health care and the costs for the average middle class, and I have a pre-existing condition, I'm a veteran, is the fact that the health insurance companies are being forced to cover people with pre-existing conditions. So imagine if you're driving down the street and you run into someone, and then you call up the next day and say, Geico, I want insurance to cover the accident they had. They can't stay in business. Yeah. So don't we need to handle and take care of people with like your son, with pre-existing conditions, but the rest of us are paying way too much and can't afford our own care. And so what we have is people paying $600 a month for an individual health insurance policy with a $6,000 deductible. That's not health care. That's a scam. That's a ripoff.
$1,480 a month for my family is 6 with a $5,000 deductible. Look, there's two parts of pre-existing conditions. One is people that want to get insurance and pay their fair share of insurance and stay on the insurance. Something needs to be done to provide health care for those people, and there can be these catastrophic insurance pools that Senator Paul has talked about that you'd have to have some
What about just putting them on Medicaid? That's where they should be.
You could put it on Medicaid, and then you can expand Medicaid and take it from its original purpose, or you could have these risk pools. I like the risk pools, but either way, it's going to be handled the same way. The problem with the other angle is the people that are gaming the system, what you just said. Somebody doesn't want to have health insurance, so they don't pay for health insurance. And as soon as they get sick, then they go in and they say, hey, according to Obamacare, you got to provide health insurance to me, and I want it at the lowest cost possible, even though I'm already sick and have a new condition. That's happening a lot. In fact, both the Senate and the Congressional Health Care Bill try to stop that from happening. One of them put a requirement that if you allow your insurance to lapse over 33 days or 63 days, I think it is, the insurance companies can charge a 30% premium for 1 year. That's not a real big penalty for allowing your insurance to lapse. The Senate bill says you can't buy insurance for, I don't know, 3 months or something like that. But there has to be something to stop people from gaming the system, which is what you're talking about.
We're going to take a break. We're going to go to a commercial right now. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to this episode of Battlefield Nevada. We're here with Danny Tarkanian on the 4th of July. And we're talking about health care. We're talking about a lot of the issues that are facing Nevadans today. So what is it about Senator Heller's position on health care that you differ from?
Senator Heller says he will not support the health care bill because it cuts Medicaid. It does not cut Medicaid. And that's what really bothers me about the Republicans and how they get the message out. We're allowing the Democrats and the mainstream liberal media to get the message out that we're cutting Medicaid. The Senate bill actually increases Medicaid by over 30% over the 10-year period that they analyzed it. It's the inflation rate plus 1%. It's actually going up. It's not being cut. Senator Heller says, oh, no. We want it to go up like Obamacare was, where it's going to double. Well, the only problem with that is, first of all, it's unsustainable with respect to our federal debt. We're almost $20 trillion in debt right now. We're a $500 billion deficit this year, going up to $1 trillion. This is unsustainable, and we can't have it happen. Second of all, even the people who approved Medicaid for their states, like Governor Sandoval, knew that at a point in time, the states had to start taking over a higher percentage of the Medicaid cost, of the increase in Medicaid costs. Originally, it was going to be 10% in 2020, and that's going to go to 20%, 30% in years forward. Well, why do they say now they can't pay for it, and instead they want to force the middle-class, hard-working Americans to shoulder this whole burden?
I don't know if you know this, but we reported on 360daily.net just last week that Senator Sandoval just signed a bill to expand.
Sandoval so far.
What did I say?
Governor Sandoval so far.
Governor Sandoval signed a bill to expand Medicaid for illegal immigrants, refugees, and the children of legal immigrants by $19.5 million a year. Is that the right answer?
Well, of course not. Look, I don't understand. We argue about this back and forth, whether the people that are here in our country illegally are getting federal benefits or not. I wasn't aware of the statistic you told me, but shouldn't the people that live here in our country and our residents here legally be taken care of first and foremost? And that's not being done right now. And we're already talking about how we can't expand Medicaid further, but here you go, you expand to people that aren't in the country legally.
So currently, if you're here in the country legally or illegally, or you're a refugee, you have to wait 5 years to get onto Medicaid. He wants to remove that and allow people to get on right away.
But he wants to do that, but have the federal government pay for it, not the state of Nevada, which he's responsible for.
Well, at the same time, we have continued problems with the VA here and around the country. We just reported, actually this week, that about another scandal in our neighboring state, Los Angeles VA, killed over 115 veterans on waiting lists that we thought were resolved. They waited and they died waiting for care. We have problems here in this county where the Southern Nevada VA, actually, we just funded $100 million in new clinics to have x-ray facilities there, mental health facilities, pharmacies. Sounded great, but they've now canceled all those services. They don't actually offer those services anymore. You have to drive to the VA hospital. And so there's just waste, fraud, and abuse. Isn't it time, and do you support a voucher for veterans to be able to leave the VA and go where they want?
Absolutely. Now, assuming that's their desire. There's
they
a lot,
want.
Yes, a lot of veterans like going to the VA hospital, probably for non-emergency type of treatment and stuff, because it's hard to get in quickly if you have an emergency. But if they want to go to a regular hospital, absolutely. Why would they not? I mean, you're talking about people that have put their greatest asset on the line to support and protect us here in the United States. So we're not going to give them the opportunity to have the same kind of health care that we have. We're the same kind of health care that Governor Sandoval is providing to all these other people that live in Nevada, but we're not going to give it to our veterans who deserve it the most.
So the leadership in our VA here are, none of them are doctors or nurses, none of them are veterans. Do you think that's part of the problem? Do you think that the leadership in the VA across the board, whether it's local, national, should know what it means to serve the country?
Sure, they should, but more than that, they should understand the needs and desires of the people that are going through this stuff. And right now, you can't fire somebody in the VA if they're derelict in their duties, or if they've had some problems that have been reported nationally over the past several years. So you have to go through this long process, and no one's getting fired over this thing. If they're not performing their duties for the people that have done the most for our country, then shame on us as a country and the politicians that run this.
So the president has authorized $120 million to restart Yucca Mountain. What's your position on that?
I've said this all along, since 2010. We can turn Yucca Mountain into a great, profitable, and safe solution, and that would solve virtually the whole entire nuclear waste industry. You turn Yucca Mountain into a reprocessing facility, and also turn into a research and development facility for all alternative green energy stuff. It would turn, first of all, we have over 100 above ground sites of nuclear waste being stored in major metropolitan areas. Just outside of San Diego, there was an article today where they have hundreds of tons of nuclear spent fuel. This is a real danger. We can get that brought into Nevada, reprocess it so we can use 98% of that nuclear spent fuel to create new fuel, just like they do in France and other countries. Nevada could be the one that receives not only the monetary benefit of producing the facility, but also reselling the reprocessed nuclear spent fuel. At the same time, because we have such great resources in wind, solar, and the other alternative energies, we can turn that site into a research and development site for all of those alternative energies. We would have free health care we would have health care paid for everybody here in Nevada if they would take that solution and accept Yucca Mountain as a reprocessing facility. But instead, we have politicians that are more concerned about getting reelected, so they run the scared Mongol tactics of arguing against the repository. The problem with that is we're going to get the storage put in here if we don't fight back and ask for it to be a reprocessing facility. We'll get the storage, and it's going to be the worst. My solution, you have the better alternative.
So what would you say to those who are in the casino industry that are vehemently opposed to this, that they don't want a nuclear waste dump 100 miles away from Clark County?
It's not a dump. It's going to be reprocessing nuclear spent fuel. It's not going to store there. So there is no dump. So that's the big
that was the initial plan, though, in the 70s, was to make it a storage.
Well, that's what they're going to make it here. If we just fight no storage or storage, we lose the fight, and we're going to have a storage facility. I'm saying let's give them an alternative. Let's reprocess the nuclear spent fuel, get rid of the nuclear waste, 98% of it, and use it to reprocess it for new fuel. The only argument against this is people say, well, there could be some kind of accident when you transport the nuclear spent fuel to Yucca Mountain. But they have been transporting nuclear spent fuel through Nevada for over 30 years now, and there hasn't been one accident. And I heard Harry Reid say, well, it wasn't as high radioactive stuff as some of the others would be, but it's still very high radioactive, and there hasn't been an accident. I think that's argument doesn't hold water. Furthermore, we have a serious problem around our country with keeping this nuclear spent fuel above ground in these large metropolitan areas. We can solve that solution. We can solve our energy solution. We can solve our lack of funding here in Nevada for both education and healthcare with the alternative I just gave you.
So one of the other proposals that the president is currently putting through Congress right now is a national voucher program for education. What are your thoughts about that? Because we just had the ESAs not pass, not get funded last month in the state legislature. What do you see as that? Is that a possible solution?
I think it'd be the greatest solution, and it would bring us back up to a modern day feelings on our education system. Look, most people that have children and they live in an urban area, and they got to decide where they want to send their kids with their taxpayer dollars to a failing school or be able to, hey, send them to another school that may do a better job for them, are all in favor of having alternative choices. Again, more choices create a better product at a lower cost. I'm all in favor of that. It's so disappointing our legislature and our governor did not get that signed
Who do you blame
this
for that?
past year.
Do you blame Governor Sandoval for not getting this through?
I wouldn't have signed a revenue bill, a budget bill, if ESA wasn't a part of it.
So we're at the end now. I want to, as I said, I'm going to give you the last minute or two to tell the audience a little bit more about what you're planning to do and what you're, obviously about the holiday and everything else.
I have no idea what I'm going to do for sure at this point. I just have some options, and they're actually very good options. I could run for re-election in CD3. I lost the race by 1%. I ran against the majority leader in the state Senate, who everyone thought was the best viable candidate on the GOP side, and I beat him by 8% after being outspent 4-1. And I lost the general election by 1%. I think I'd have a great chance to win CD3. On the other hand, there's been a lot of people encouraging me, if not pushing me, to run against Senator Heller. That would be a much more difficult race because of the amount of money it would cost to run, and also you're going after an incumbent senator in your party, and that always causes problems. But both of them are good solutions. The most important thing is my family's healthy. I'm doing really well financially. I was involved in the real estate market, and we had some tough times during the recession. Things have turned around. Our health is good. Our finances are good. We have good alternatives. Life is good. We're going to enjoy the 4th of July with our family. We're going to have fireworks out of my house tomorrow, and we're going to have a big dinner with all my brothers and sisters and my mother. I'm just very excited about it. I'm glad to be able to live in Nevada and enjoy the things that we have here.
Great. Thank you very much. Happy 4th of July, and good luck with your family and everything else.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks a lot, guys. This is Rob Lauer for Battlefield Nevada. Stay tuned for more news and information at 360daily.net.